A lot of girls can't go up to their parents because they don't feel the trust or they don't feel the comfort. So for them to come to school and us have this and provide that for young teenagers who are sexually active, I think it's a great idea.
I want to know if she's active or not.
It's like encouraging them to do what they shouldn't be doing right away. You know, they're high school students. It's not right.
You have to worry about your kid, and then you're a kid yourself, so like you can't really focus on school and have a baby at the same time. So I think it's a good idea.
Over 2,200 New York City residents become mothers by the age of 17, and about 70% of those teen mothers drop out of school. So in order to deal with this issue, this reality, the New York City school system began a pilot program last year in 5 schools. It allows students there to get emergency contraception or the morning after pill, oftentimes without parental approval, and now the program, it's expanding. New York City public high schools, they've handed out condoms for years. That's not new. But now emergency contraception will be available at 13 New York City high schools. Parents may bar their children from getting pregnancy tests or contraceptions if they sign and return an opt-out statement. If they don't, schools can confidentially give the contraception without permission. An average of 1 to 2% of parents in each of the schools, they actually return the opt-out sheets. And last year, when the plan was implemented, about a little less than 5% of the 12,000 girls enrolled in the program, they were given the prescription drug. Well, joining us now to sound off is Sabrina Shulman, political director at NARAL Pro-Choice New York. Sabrina, welcome to the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I will tell you, we asked this question and we got inundated by responses, the overwhelming majority saying that school was playing the role of parent, that they were encouraging risky behavior for minors, it was sending the worst message. What say you?
Well, we think that this is an important tool that young women and young people need within the comprehensive information and healthcare services that they already get through schools. School-based health centers and school nurses have been providing important information about how to stay healthy and safe for years, thankfully. And what we know is that most young women already talk to a parent when they're making important decisions about things like sex and pregnancy and preventing pregnancy. And so if they can't talk to their parents, they should be able to get this health care, this very safe health care, nonetheless.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Sure.
It makes sense, everything you say. Let me pick the worst example. You got a 14-year-old or 15-year-old, not a senior or even a junior. And sounds like the forms come home. Most of the parents don't even know they came home, and 99% didn't even bother filling them out or thereabouts. Isn't this an act of kind of omission in that, in a void where it didn't require a signature of any kind, the school says, well, they never got back to us, so we're just going to have this conversation with you, the student, rather than involve the parents whatsoever? Is there a legitimate argument on parents' behalf that it's almost like gotcha, where if they didn't catch on to something here, the decision's being made in a vacuum without their input?
Well, one thing I'll say is that I hope that the dialogue that's happening now around this program is going to encourage those conversations. I'm sure you're right. A lot of parents, they get the letter, they throw it on a pile, they don't pay attention to it. But in school or not in school, New York has long protected young women's access to confidential reproductive health care. So the school expanding the places those young women can get that health care is just getting to students where they are, beyond them having to navigate the health care system outside of places they understand. Parents should be involved, and many parents are. And like I said, what we've seen through experience is that most young women do approach a parent if they feel comfortable. But the unfortunate reality is that that 14-year-old might be the victim of incest, or frankly might just feel like they can't do that.
If there wasn't an opt-out, would you still be behind the program?
You know, I think that parents need to know what's happening in schools, and I think the school is doing the right thing. The school doesn't have a practice of instituting these programs without opt-outs, so I think it's a little bit moot. They know that's the right thing. They do it for this, they do it for other things that are considered somewhat controversial. And so I think it's absolutely appropriate for parents to be informed of what's going to be happening, offer the opportunity to opt out, ask questions, approach the school, approach the nurse.
And I don't think we can go through that example without the other end of that story, which is that you increase the odds of a 14 or 15-year-old girl either having an unwanted pregnancy or having to seek an abortion. oftentimes without the knowledge of their parents, or attempting to try to deal with this without the knowledge of their parents anyway.
But
and
that's the step in. What's being left out of this entire conversation, and I support what you're saying, but the 800-pound gorilla is, where are these schools? We know where these schools are. We know exactly where these schools are, where you're doing this without parental consent. Would you do it at Stuyvesant High School in New York City? I don't think so, because those parents will sue you the next day.
Well, why not start the program where there's the biggest risk of unwanted teen
but that's
pregnancies?
to assume that the biggest risk.
No, they did
I
it by
didn't
the
say
they
that.
went by the numbers. They went
Okay,
to
they
the,
went by
to
the
schools
numbers.
that have
Okay.
the highest rates.
Fair enough, but if you're going to do it in communities of color, why not do it at Stuyvesant and be consistent with the policy?
Well, I think they would say that they were trying to stem an epidemic.
No, what you're saying is we'll do it where the parents have no control, no say-so, and they won't stand up to us. But you won't do it at the schools where the parents can afford to hire a lawyer the next day.
I got it, and it was one of the first things I thought of when I saw it.
And I support
I
doing
think it's
it.
a good idea, but if you're thinking about it, imagine. They say they did it
Don't
where their
imagine, 'cause
studio
it won't
is.
happen.
Say where they did it where their studio
It
is.
won't happen.
All of a sudden, mom, dad finds out that, the kid got morning after pill and they weren't in the loop. They go apoplectic. The attorney would be knocking on the door. There'd be a battery of attorneys at the principal's
would.
door the next day.
Sure would.
I don't think they have the same problem. I don't think it mitigates the point. Any of the points you make would I think are valid. Listen, you're one of the rare Republicans who's pro-choice here. Does this cross the line for you or not?
Well, the issue of the parental decision or opt-out, I think, is critically important. I don't buy the idea that a responsible parent just takes a piece of paper from the school and throws it on a pile or throws it away. The responsible parent takes a look at it, maybe goes to the school and asks a question about it. I agree with Dominic that you don't target a program to specific schools that may have a racial component. That's not fair. If you're going to do this in Connecticut, do it to all the schools. Don't cherry pick the schools. Do it to all of them. And yes, maintain the parental opt-out so the parents can be involved up front before there's a pregnant 15-year-old in a crisis.
I guess my last thing on this one is there any part of you that says it is telling a kid kind of read between the lines, but it's okay? You're 14. Does it in any way give a kid a green light? And believe me, I'm with you, except now that all of a sudden I got kids getting near that age and girls, I'm like, does it in any way kind of just say, it's not so bad? I know we tell you, wait, but
I mean, look, you've got to look at the evidence over the years. People said the same thing about condoms when the AIDS epidemic rose and they were handing out condoms on the street. We're handing them out in schools. We're handing them out everywhere. Everyone should have a condom in their pocket.
Party favorites. Yeah.
It doesn't, just because you have an umbrella doesn't make it rain. They're not more likely to go out and have sex because they have it.
They're more likely to have safe sex.
They're more likely to have safe sex, thank you, and they're more likely to protect themselves and have the tools and information to make the right decision. Young women are getting pregnant at unreasonable rates. Young women in all communities, and young women in communities with less access to health care, less access to the tools they need to implement those good decisions, even if they make them. This is important for everybody.
You've seen how politics work with the hue and cry that's been everywhere today on this issue. Do you think Department of Education steps in? Do you think they scuttle the pilot program or scale it back from the 13?
I don't think so. They have the evidence behind them. This is a proven program, a proven pilot they've been running for years. This is medication that has been on the market for years. It's safe, it's effective, it reduces pregnancy.
Pages of the tabloids, and
But you
it's
also,
also
you also have a health first mayor who said, to hell with what my poll numbers say, I'm going to push these agenda
for re-election unless he decides to make a fourth term or something. Absolutely. Sabrina, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, please keep the dialogue going online. What we're going to do is tomorrow, we're going to have a whole mailbag on this thing here. So go to our Facebook page or Twitter and sound off. We already got a lot of comments from people with some very strong opinions on this. We'd like to add yours to the mix. Should schools be able to distribute the morning after pill? And yes, there was an opt-out here, but you heard all the facts. Now, when we come back, we will head back to the campaign trail, but we will be going to a localized here. The campaign office of a congressman in our region vandalized over the weekend, and the computers were wiped clean. But the trouble is, congressman's also the same guy under investigation for fundraising problems. Sound a little fishy? You're not the only one. We'll get into that after this.
No, absolutely.